people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. The latest from reigning WBA bantamweight champion of the United Kingdom, Nina Hughes, who says it'd be great to see who is the best in the division. WBA champion Nina Hughes is calling for a fight with newly crowned IBF champion Yoshida of Japan, and believes the winner should fight WBC and WBO champion Dina Thorslund in an undisputed clash at bantamweight. Not a bad idea. Not bad at all. It seems to me that the reason that Nina left Matchroom and decided to sign to Lou DiBella is because while she was at Matchroom, they didn't make the Ebony Bridges fight. Now Ebony Bridges, she's not a champion anymore.
Mio took her belt. Mio Yoshida, she's with Lou DiBella. Now Nina Hughes, she's with Lou DiBella.
Nina Hughes has given her decorum a complete overhaul. She's not with Let's Go Management anymore. She's not with Matchroom anymore. My question is, if the reason she left Matchroom was because they didn't make the Ebony Bridges fight, who's to say that Lou DiBella is going to make the Mio Yoshida fight? Who's to say?
Says who?
I took a trip over to the World Boxing Association's website, and to my surprise, Nina Hughes already seems to have a fight on schedule. It doesn't appear on BoxRec, but it does appear on the WBA's website. And it's not against Mio Yoshida.
It's against Australia's own former IBF Super Bantamweight champion, Shernika Johnson.
Scheduled for May 12th of this year in Western Australia. Yeah, Nina's got a fight coming up. Nina's got a fight in the books, but it ain't with Mio Yoshida. So once again, if the reason she left Matchroom was because they didn't make the Bridges fight, it's not like Lou DiBella made her the Mio Yoshida fight. She's fighting Shernika.
Unfortunately for Nina, I'm sorry to say, but she may not make it to a Mio Yoshida fight.
Not of her next fight is Shernika Johnson, who sports a professional record of 15 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 6 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 17 professional bouts. As a professional, Shernika Johnson is actually more experienced than Nina, even though she's many years younger than Nina. She's got a lot more pro fights, more rounds in the bank, and she's been a champion before. She's been a champion herself.
28 years old to Nina Hughes, who's 41.
Nina's 13 years older than Shernika Johnson, sporting a professional record of just 6 professional wins, no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts. It's not that Nina isn't talented. It's not that Nina isn't good. It's that time isn't on Nina's side, and stylistically, this could be a tough fight.
I would give Nina Hughes good odds to beat Mio Yoshida and take her blue belt, take the IBF title, if Mio Yoshida were next, but she doesn't appear to be next. Shernika Johnson is next.
That's a problem, and what compounds that problem is that the fight is scheduled for May of this year. Nina Hughes, she hasn't seen action since June of last year, so that's saying that the night of the fight, it will have been roughly 11 months since she last saw action. She may have ring rust to shake off, and this ain't a gimme fight. This ain't a tune-up fight. This ain't the kind of fight where you want to be shaking off ring rust.
Shernika Johnson's going to be the one that has home field advantage, not Nina. It's set to go down in Western Australia.
May 12th in Australia. That's the same day as the George Kambosos versus Vasyl Lomachenko fight. Also set to go down in Australia. Shernika Johnson, she's fought on his undercards before, when he fought Devin Haney.
She fought Susie Ramadan.
It's not registered on BoxRec yet, doesn't show it, but I've the sneaking suspicion that Hughes versus Johnson is set to go down on the undercard of Kambosos versus Lomachenko,
which means we'll see it here in America on ESPN.
That's stated. Nina Hughes, she hasn't fought in a while. She hasn't fought since June of last year.
Yeah, but neither has Shernika.
Well, no, she hasn't, but she's 13 years younger than Nina. She's gonna have home field advantage, and again, stylistically, This is not an easy fight. Shernika Johnson, who's going to be a little bit taller, a little bit longer, staying on her toes, moving around.
Nina Hughes is the shorter, stumpier fighter of the two. It's going to be up to Nina to close the distance, to get close enough to land punches, and Shernika, she's not going to make it easy to do that.
Shernika's coming off that decision loss to Ellie Scottney in June of last year, where she lost her IBF title. In spite of that, I'm still giving Shernika Johnson the edge here. I think she's catching Nina Hughes at the right time.
In the right place.
So where Nina Hughes left Matchroom because they didn't make a unification match, she may end up losing to Shernika Johnson before Lou DiBella makes a unification match.
Looks like it.
In men's lightweight news, what is servicing as unofficial confirmation that Gervonta Davis may yet face Frank Martin, in spite of what his longtime trainer Calvin Ford said a few days ago on some podcast, that the fight wasn't happening, at least according to Gervonta Davis via his Instagram stories. It might be a poster that reads, "Agreed, Davis versus Martin."
Some speculation as to what Frank Martin stands to make for the fight. The good people at the Boxing Voice tweeted that he stands to make a little over $200,000 more. $200,000 more than what he stood to make opposite the ring Shakur Stevenson last year. You would have thought that for all this hullabaloo about Gervonta Davis being the face of boxing, or at least the biggest name at or around these weights, that Frank would have been getting more, substantially more than just an additional $200,000. That's $200,000 on top of $1 million. Late last year was reported that Frank Martin stood to make 7 figures for the Shakur Stevenson fight.
What was said to be a career-high purse and a world title opportunity for Frank Martin, who doesn't make 7 figures a fight. He's not a $1 million fighter. He isn't. This latest rumor suggests that he stands to make $200,000 more on top of that opposite the ring Gervonta Davis, and some people feel that it's far too low a number given Gervonta Davis's reputation, that this is the guy people say dethroned Canelo Alvarez as the face of boxing, but Canelo pays his opponents more up front, more guaranteed than Gervonta pays his opponents. So how is he the face of boxing? He's not at the top of the Forbes list. He's not the highest earning boxer in the sport. He's not the second or third highest earning boxer in the sport.
He's not the face of boxing. He's the face of fetal alcohol syndrome.
In truth, I'm not too hung up on what people speculate Frank stands to make from the fight. That's not what has my attention. What has my attention is the amount of time that has already passed since he walked away from Shakur, and when this fight is supposed to take place, presumably in the summer months or early summer. In the amount of time that it has taken Frank to land a Gervonta Davis fight, he could have already fought Shakur Stevenson.
Could have. He would have already fought Shakur Stevenson and still had several months to recuperate and several months to still do the Gervonta Davis fight, because it was never an either-or situation. You could have fought Shakur last year, then fought Gervonta in the summer of this one.
Well, why is that important?
Bargaining power.
Bargaining power and the fight's overall profile. If Frank Martin would have fought Shakur Stevenson last year and he beat him, not only would he have got a profile boost out of that, he would have got a belt. He would have got the WBC title.
And more bargaining power to get more money.
This fight, based on what's already taken place, would have been a unification match for presumably Frank Martin's WBC and Gervonta Davis's newly obtained WBA title.
What's the problem?
The problem with that plan, that scenario I should say, is it relies on the premise that Frank would have won, that Frank would have beat Shakur and become a WBC champion. Therein lies a dilemma. He wasn't going to win that fight. Underneath it all, past all the excuses way out there, lies the truth. And the truth is, Frank didn't like his chances. He didn't think he was going to win. If he did, he would have went through with the fight.
If you thought you were going to win, you would have fought him.
You would have fought him because you fought guys for less, far less money than what you were offered to fight Shakur. You fight guys for less money all the time.
You fight guys for less money than that all the time.
So if you liked your chances in that fight, you would have took your chances in that fight and fought Shakur. If you liked your chances, you didn't. He's fighting Gervonta Davis now in what's supposed to be a bigger fight, though I don't know how big you could say it is, how big it is overall. There were bigger names out there for Gervonta Davis to fight than this one, than this guy.
After Devin Haney beat Regis Prograis, Gervonta could have saw about fighting him. Turkey al-Sheikh, he offered to pay for the fight.
Gervonta wasn't interested. He wasn't really interested. Setting up roadblocks. You gotta send me 2 Ferraris just for us to have a conversation. That's just a fancy way of saying, I don't want to fight that guy.
He said he wanted to fight Conor Benn.
Eddie Hearn sends him an offer for an estimated $25 million when it's all said and done. Instead, he chooses this. He chooses Frank Martin, who isn't as known here in America as Conor Benn is in the United Kingdom. That if you fight Conor, you get that international arm of revenue, a transatlantic audience as opposed to primarily just an American one, and not a big one.
This ain't a big fight.
Not as big as the last one, not as big as the one he had with Ryan. Those pay-per-view numbers, those buys, they're gonna nosedive.
What is part of the PBC's sparse schedule of fights, what seem to be mostly pay-per-views, Zoo versus Thurman, Benavidez versus Vosdick.
These are all pay-per-views. All these fights, every single one of them, is behind a paywall where none of them should be.
Gervonta Davis ain't box office just because you say so. Outside of the numbers that he did with Ryan,
What fucking numbers did he really do? What numbers? What big buys? He'll be back to doing just under or just north of 200,000 with this one. That's what I think.
and that's nothing to write home about. That is not the year mark of a box office star, a big box office star.
There are no surprises here. We all expected that if he does come back and he does fight somebody, it's either going to be Frank Martin or Rayo Valenzuela. As it turns out, it's Frank.
And it's gonna tank.
Compared to what he did in his last fight, yeah, this fight, it's gonna tank.
Pun intended.
Men's super lightweight news. Ryan's wasting everybody's time. Devin Haney rips Garcia after high as fuck Instagram live video. Growing concerns that Ryan Garcia, for whatever reason, may sabotage this fight before it sees the light of day. It struck a lot of people as odd that he even took the fight on in the first place when on more than one occasion he's walked away from it. He walked away from it after the Luke Campbell fight, saying that he was not interested in Devin.
That was years ago.
And not but a few weeks ago, where initially he said he wanted to fight Devin, he then decided he wanted to fight Rolly instead. Things fell apart with Rolly, then he walked back to Devin, but he may be walking away.
Again.
There is increasing doubt over whether or not Devin Haney and Ryan are actually going to fight as planned on April 20th, after Garcia said he was high as fuck during an Instagram live video last night. Haney has said he will not attend today's plant press conference in Los Angeles. Garcia, 25, was asked during a social media stream how training was going, which he said was amazing, then chuckled and said, "I'm laughing because I'm high as fuck," before saying that he wants to fight UFC champion Sean O'Malley in mixed martial arts. Before any of this started, Ryan Garcia said he wanted to have the fight moved. He wanted to have the fight moved from New York to Las Vegas. Initially, it was supposed to go down in Las Vegas. They wanted it to, but a late April fight date is far too close to May 4th, which could have been and still could be Canelo Alvarez's next fight date.
They don't want one event cannibalizing the other. Those who might want to go to Canelo's fight.
Two fights, two very big fights, expensive ones, so close together, one event might cannibalize the other. They don't want that to happen, so they moved it to New York, but Ryan decided he wants it to be in Vegas.
That's what he said a few days ago.
So is what we're now seeing Ryan's attempt to sabotage the New York fight so that they could have it moved back to Vegas at a later date. A later date for more money, as it was speculated that had the fight gone down in Vegas, there would be more money in it for the fighters, more money in it for Ryan.
Why do you think he's talking about fighting Sean O'Malley?
You think little Miss Gen Z wants to become the next UFC champion? No, he wants to do a boxing versus MMA crossover fight while he already has a fight signed for the money. The kickoff press conference for the April 30th fight, I heard Devin Haney say that he could smell liquor on Ryan Garcia's breath. You fast forward, and he's seen on his social media account smoking reefer.
Marijuana.
Want to get this kid out of boxing? Get this kid the fuck out of boxing. Mr. Big in the Britches because he's got Instagram followers. Yeah, Ryan's got a following, he's got a profile, he's got some marquee value, but in terms of discipline, stability, he has none of that. And that's what it really takes to make it.
The gift and the curse with Ryan is he already had an established profile before he ever actually did anything in the sport, before he actually ever accomplished anything. In fact, He hasn't accomplished anything.
He hasn't. For all of his popularity and his profile, what has he really done? Who did he beat? He got beat.
Knocked out by Gervonta Davis. They made a lot of money.
The idea here is that Ryan Garcia achieved a level of celebrity that most other boxers don't achieve until after they've accomplished something, say won a world title or unified one, had a high-profile fight or a signature victory. Ryan had all the popularity that comes with that without actually having done that. And that has less to do with his boxing career and more to do with his social media accounts, because that's where a lot of his popularity comes from.
He's not popular because he beat somebody. He's popular because he's on the internet a lot.
So when you see that he's difficult to deal with, has been difficult to deal with over the years, when you see that he's a bit of a prima donna, that he's entitled, self-important,
Demanding.
that's why. He's not disciplined. He's not stable. He's been bouncing from star trainer to star trainer to star trainer, from Eddie Reynoso to Joe Goosen, now Derek James.
He's not stable.
He doesn't think he has to be because he's already so popular, and he's already made a lot of money for what it's worth, if nothing else, from the Gervonta Davis fight, being knocked out by Gervonta Davis. He did make a lot of money.
So he thinks he's on the right track.
But he looks more like a guy who's going to burn out fast. He's going to burn out before he actually does anything, accomplishes anything in the sport. This particular brand of bullshit, this waste of time, seems to be a uniquely American phenomenon, because you don't see stuff like this in the Mexican boxing scene, or the Asian boxing scene, the British boxing scene, or the Eastern European boxing scene. No, these kinds of self-entitled time wasters, they really are a uniquely American phenomenon.
What about Tyson Fury?
Oh yeah, he's a bullshitter and he's a time waster, but he's had big fights, very, very big fights, and he's won them. If nothing else, he's accomplished a lot of things that Ryan Garcia will never accomplish. So while he is a time waster, he has managed to get some things done. Ryan hasn't.
Not all time wasters are created equal.
A recent Golden Boy signee, Arnold Barboza, is supposed to be fighting on the undercard of this show, and I have the sneaking suspicion that if anything happens to Ryan, if he pulls out for any reason, they will offer up Arnold Barboza to stand in Ryan's place. So if they do, you can hardly bill that as a pay-per-view. Devin Haney versus Arnold Barboza.
You don't think you're getting ahead of yourself?
No, I don't. Because Ryan Garcia has never pulled out of a fight before, because that's never happened.
Give me a break.
It's not outside the realm of possibility that Ryan Garcia, for whatever reason, because he wants the fight moved to Vegas, or he just decided he really doesn't want this fight altogether, it's not outside the realm of possibility that he'll fuck this up. Man, he already said he wanted it moved to Vegas. He's calling out MMA fighters. He's drinking. He's smoking reefer.
Do any of these sound like the things that somebody does when they're about to go into a major fight?
A major fight that they're not even favored to win, by the way. Most people with two functioning brain cells, most people with an iota of understanding when it comes to the sport of boxing, they have Devin Haney winning.
It's not like Ryan's favored to win this thing anyway. He never has been.
His trademark brand of petulant behavior really does seem like a uniquely American phenomenon, because here in America, in this boxing scene, what seems to happen more is the drama, the soap opera of boxing, as opposed to the sport of boxing.
That's what Ryan is. He's a fucking drama queen.